As I embark on my journey to make tier lists of different matters, I want to remind you that a tier list is typically a subjective scoring that can be about absolutely anything. For my tier lists, I aim to make the topic well defined, as objectively measurable as possible, explained and rationalized, and above all, intended to improve understanding of the characters and game mechanics. This tier list is intended to group and identify the best 10-frame standing block punishment tools in Tekken 7. We will factor in damage, advantage on hit, range, and other exceptional circumstances as possible, such as added potential depending on positioning or other resources available. Frames on block are considered irrelevant, as this is a measure of the tools being used to block punish. This tier list will be categorized into tiers S, A, B, C, and D, with S tier being the best and D tier being the worst. The tiers will not be ordered unless otherwise mentioned. The different letters are intended to separate the strength of the moves and character. However, please don't take too much significance from the tiers, as I don't want to discourage people from picking a character, as this is just a rating of a small sample of what each character is capable of. Let the tier list begin. Poor Asuka, down here all on her lonesome. While most characters have at least a 1-2 jab punish, Asuka can only get a 1 jab. With a measly 8 damage and some of the worst range for a 10-frame punisher in the game, it's not hard to rate it low. While it is +9 on hit and has extensions, it's still a loss compared to other characters who can get much more damage and enforce a mix-up just as, if not more scary than her 10-frame punisher. With the exception of Asuka, the bare minimum is generally a 1-2 jab, and for most part, this is where these characters lie. Many of these characters have a 2 jab punish or equivalent, which is followed by some way to enforce a mix-up. But these ones generally aren't too threatening, have easy ways to counter them, or are just encouraging the character to perform a high risk mix-up that can ultimately cost them in game instead of winning it. It's not wise to punish your opponent simply to have your reward result in them taking half your life. This is where we really get into the mixed bag of punishes, and I think a number of people might try to argue against some of these placements. Please remember that while some of these characters have 10-frame punishment tools that are good in their own right for being safe on block, this is irrelevant if you're using them to block punish the opponent. While a lot of characters in the B tier may have a little bit less damage, they do have the opportunity to start their pressure with their 10 frame. However, with a little bit of matchup knowledge, a lot of this pressure can be negated quite easily. Where damage may be letting them down, range saves the day for a lot of these characters, although Master Raven is the exact opposite, and with more range on her 2-4, she would absolutely be higher in this tier list. You'll start to notice more of a trend here, with 10-frame punishers having great range, often being 3 hits, and often causing a knockdown, maybe even a wall splat. You will also see King and Armor King placed here, as while their 2-1 punish isn't too threatening, it is still above average damage, and at +7 positions them perfectly for a throw mix-up. Characters like Bob, Feng, Kunimitsu, Leroy and Noctis all have decent punishment options, but they just fall short of being in the S tier due to either damage, frame advantage or range. But of course, they've still made A tier, so they're still considered very good punishment tools. While characters like Jin and Lily have strong 10-frame punishers that do high damage and also knockdown. While Kazuya and Kazumi are both in the A tier for their punishes, Heihachi and DiaLOGue have stronger options available to them as well, and additional properties. I also really feel the need to discuss Yoshimitsu right here, as a lot of the time his punishment is not that great. However, if you put him into no sword stance, a stance which he can run around freely with, then his 10 frame punishment becomes insanely good, high damage and wall splatting. Here we are at the S tier, the creme de la creme, all terrifying in their own right for punishing slightly unsafe moves. These characters have the highest damage, the best range, and the best properties from their 10 frame tools. You've seen who is on this list, now let's discuss the top 5. Number 5 is Lee Chaolan. While many of his 10 frame options aren't great, his acid rain is exceptional damage from anywhere on the screen. Lee's jab range is unfortunately one of the shortest in the game, so the issue of consistency is not only from an execution standpoint. Even so, the reward is excellent! At number 4, we have Elisa. Metered mechanics make everything absurd in Tekken. Meterless, her punishment is still worthy of S tier, but if she has 2 sticks to burn, you're looking at a full juggle punish that can grant you as much as 65 damage. That's head and shoulders above most of the cast, but it is very resource heavy.
It's curtains for you.
Three is Gigas. With the best jab range in the game and 35 damage leading into a knockdown or wall splat, Gigas can reach and heavily punish some things which many others struggle to do. Good for you, Gigas.
Come on. This might be amusing.
At number 2 we have Geese Howard. While he might have slightly less damage meterless than Elisa, he's got a bit better range. He needs to use 2 bars of meter to get a good conversion, just like Elisa, but he can store 3. A difference between the two though, is that Geese really requires his meter to convert for any combo. That being said, you can't deny the potential he has with using meter from a 10 frame punish.
Stay down, maggot.
Number 1 is Akuma. Akuma's 10 frame punish is absurdly good. Without meter, it's slightly more damaging than Elisa's. Then with only 1 bar, he can still convert for a full combo and get more than 70 damage. Want to use 2 bars? Why not? Hello 80 damage. Coming full circle here, without walls involved, Akuma can punish a 10 frame move and deal 10 times the damage that Asuka can. While the range on his one jab isn't the greatest, and he requires resources for these kind of conversions, it's still remarkable what he can get compared to a lot of the cast, and this is exactly what I feel his meter is used for. He gets more from a 10 frame punish than many characters get from a 15 frame punish, or sometimes even more than that. And this is my entire 10 frame standing block punishment tier list for Tekken 7. I know that not everybody will agree with all of the placements on this tier list, and that's fine. Like we said before, tier lists are always going to be somewhat subjective. I've tried my best to be objective and use the data available to me to compile this list. Anyway, please comment below what you think. If there's anything you're unsure of, let's get a discussion going. Thank you everyone, I'm AFriendlyTree, and I'll catch you next time.